Okay, guys, moving on. Now, the next idea we are going to talk about is the quadratic function, which forms out a parabola on the graph. Now, we know this fact that the quadratic equation is of the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. And the general equation of the quadratic function will be y is equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. Herein, just remember this fact that ABC is used to determine the shape of the parabola, wherein it decides whether the parabola will be U-shaped curve or inverted U-shaped curve. So simply remember, if parabola is if A is positive, then the parabola will be U-shaped curve like this. And if A is negative, then the parabola will be inverted U-shaped curve like this. Now C denotes the y-intercept of the parabola, which implies basically the y-intercept of the parabola will be positive. That means the parabola will touch y-axis on the positive note. So if C is positive, the parabola will look somewhat this way. If C is negative, the parabola will look somewhat this way. It has nothing to do with the shape of the parabola. That means C has no role to decide whether it will be U-shaped curve or inverted U-shaped curve. Even if this is the parabola, this will certainly specify that the C is positive, and this will specify C is negative. So the point and the objective is A decides the shape of the parabola, whether it will be U-shaped curve or inverted U-shaped curve, and C decides the y-intercept. Generally, GRE does not test you on the idea of B, but I'm just telling you that B decides the deepness of U nature of the parabola. So whether the parabola will be this U, or the parabola will be this much U, or the parabola will be this much U, or the parabola will be this deep U is dependent on the value of B, which is not tested in GRE. That's why it's not written on screen, and that's why we are going to keep it out. So do remember A, which is the coefficient of x squared, decides the shape of the parabola. So if A is positive, parabola will be U-shaped curve. If A is negative, the parabola will be inverted U-shaped curve. If C is positive, it implies it will touch the y-axis on the positive node. If C is negative, then it will touch the y-axis on the negative node. I'm so sorry, this has to be C negative. So if C is positive, it will touch y-axis on a positive node. If C is negative, then it will touch y-axis on the negative node. C has no role to play with respect to the shape of the parabola. It is just about intersecting with the y-axis. So it is all about the y-intercept of the parabola. Note down this idea, and then we'll talk about in detail the shape and the nature of the parabolas. Okay, guys, moving on. There is a suggestion from my side. For the next 10 minutes, I would suggest you to just look at the screen and understand. If things will be sorted, not 10 minutes exactly, but just the 5 minutes, things will be understood properly, then it will become very easy to relate the idea during the exam, if by chance it turns up in the exam. There is no possibility, how shall I explain? There is no 100% chance that this will turn up, but if it will turn up, it will be a free gift because it will be a difficult question, but the way we are going to relate will be such that it will become very easy to relate during the exam. So my suggestion would be just put your pens down, look at the screen, and just try to understand the idea what I'm talking about. No need to write it down. I'll give you a minute or two, whatever it takes afterwards, so that you can easily relate out and note down. But please initially just listen to me carefully and understand the context. So now First of all, we are going to take the graph as y is equals to x square. And every graph after this will be in relation or with respect to this graph only y is equals to x square. So if I take the graph as x-axis and y-axis like this, so you can clearly see this fact that this graph is about y is equals to x square. So we know square of a number is least when it is equals to 0, and we know x square will be least when it is equals to 0. Otherwise, if you put in any positive number or negative number, after squaring it up, it will give you a positive answer. That means no matter whether you take x as a positive number or negative number, y will always turn out to be a positive value. So that means this parabola will be U-shaped curve having its minimum point at 0, 0, which will be also called as the vertex of the parabola. Vertex of the parabola is going to be the turning point of the parabola. It will be the least point in this graph. If let's say the graph goes by y is equals to x square plus 2, that means if you notice with respect to the previous function, you can clearly say this fact that a constant has been added to the function. We know this fact that square of a number is least when it is equals to 0. That means if you put 0 out here, 0 plus 2 will give you the value of y as 2. And this graph will eventually have the least point at the vertex, which is going to be 0, 2. So now if you notice, the previous graph had the curve or had the vertex at 0, 0, and this graph has the curve or the vertex at 0, 2. So it has been shifted 2 units up. So that's what I'm trying to relate out here, that this 2 units is the same constant which has been added to the function. So y is equals to x square plus 2 is the concern. So this has been shifted 2 units up. Similarly, if it turns out to be, let's say y is equals to x square minus 2. So square of a number is least when it is equals to 0. 0 minus 2 will give you the value of y as minus 2. If you compare with the first graph, the graph actually or eventually will shift 2 units down. So the vertex of this parabola is going to be at the point 0, minus 2. This will be the shape of the parabola. So the point is, if it is y is equals to x square, it will have the U-shaped curve because the coefficient of x square is positive, and it will have the vertex at the point 0, 0. If it turns out to be y is equals to x square plus 2, the graph will shift up by 2 units. And this is basically related as the constant has been added to the function. That's why it has been moved up. Similarly, if it is y is equals to x square minus 2, the graph will shift down by 2 units and it will become 0, minus 2 as the vertex of the parabola. Now, on a similar note, if the function goes by y is equals to x plus 2 whole squared. Now, if you notice, what I have done is in this function, I have replaced the value of x as x plus 2. So there is a change in the function itself. Now, we know square of a number is least when it is equals to 0. So to find out the vertex of the parabola, we will equate the square of the number with 0. If you equate x plus 2 with 0, it will give you the value of x as minus 2. And in this function, when you put the value of x as minus 2, y will turn out to be 0 in that case. So the coordinate which will become the vertex of the parabola will be minus 2, 0. So the shape of the parabola will be somewhat this way. Then the graph will have its minimum point at vertex minus 2, 0. So this will be the shape of the parabola, U-shaped curve, having its minimum point at minus 2, 0. Now, if you compare the fourth graph with the first graph, you will analyze that a constant has been added to the value of x. So there is change in the function. So the constant has been added to the function x. So the graph has shifted along the x-axis and it has shifted on the left-hand side. Adding a constant in x shifted the graph on the left-hand side. Similarly, for the fifth function, if it goes by y is equals to x minus 2 whole square, so square of a function is least when it is equals to 0. So when you equate x minus 2 with 0, you'll get the value of x as 2. And in this function, if you put the value of x as 2, y will turn out to be equals to 0. So the point or the coordinate that will satisfy is 2 comma 0, and 2 comma 0 will become the vertex of this fifth graph, and the graph will eventually look like somewhat this way, having its minimum point at 2 comma 0, which is also known as the vertex of the parabola. Be it fourth case, be it fifth case, both will have the same y-intercept, that will be plus 4. Lastly, if the graph goes by y is equals to minus x square, then in that case, the graph will be inverted U-shaped curve having its maximum point at 0, comma 0. So this is something you need to be mindful about. And rest of the four cases, that is addition of a constant, subtraction of a constant, addition of a constant inside, subtraction of a constant inside, will have the same effect on this graph also. So for an instance, if I make the seventh graph as y is equals to minus x square plus 2, so the graph eventually will, just a second. Minus x square plus 2. So the graph will eventually move up by 2 units, having its vertex at the point 0, comma 2. So the same nature will happen. If you notice in the second graph also, it was moving 2 units up. This graph also is moving 2 units up. So the point and the objective is very much simple, that the meaning wise, it will remain same. So addition of a constant in the function shifts the graph up by those many units along y-axis, and subtraction of a constant takes the graph by those many units on y-axis. If you add a constant inside the bracket, it will shift leftwards. If you subtract a constant inside the bracket, it will shift the function rightwards. And if the coefficient of x squared turns out to be negative, the graph will be inverted U-shaped. Lastly, if you talk about the concept of axis of symmetry, so what you need to remember here is that axis of symmetry will be a line which divide the parabola into two equal halves and always passes through the vertex of the parabola. Axis of symmetry is going to be a line which divides the parabola into two equal halves, always passes through the vertex of the parabola. In the first case, y-axis is the axis of symmetry. In the second case, y-axis is the axis of symmetry. In the third case as well, y-axis is the axis of symmetry. The sixth case as well, y-axis is the axis of symmetry. And in the seventh case as well, y-axis is the axis of symmetry. But in the fourth and the fifth case, it will be the line parallel to y-axis passing through the vertex. So it will be this particular line out here, and it will be this particular line out here. And if you further notice, the equation of this line, which is parallel to y-axis, needs to be x is equals to something. And because this line is passing through minus 2 comma 0, so the equation of this line needs to be x is equals to minus 2, and equation of this line needs to be x is equals to plus 2. So this is something you need to be mindful about. So what you need to finally remember out here is that axis of symmetry is a line which divides the parabola into two equal halves and always passes through the vertex of the parabola. So this is something in general you need to understand and know. So are we all clear about the storyline of the parabolas? Great then. Take a minute, note down the idea, digest the idea, and simply write done in the chat box after noting it down. I'm actually waiting for you guys to write done in the chat box. Thank you, Nikita. Now Samrat also said. Great. Thank you, guys. Perfect. So moving on then. Add this question, please. If you have understood the concept, this question takes hardly 2 seconds to answer. Exactly. Simple, straightforward, it has to be C. Had it been y is equals to x square, it would have touched 0, 0. It is not touching 0, 0. It is above that level. If it is above that level, that means it has to be some constant which has been added to the function. So option A gets ruled out on those grounds. Option B gets ruled out on those grounds. C is going to be the correct answer because x square plus something is what was required in the function. So D and E is also ruled out. So option C has to be the correct answer. Now this is about the nature. The second thing which you need to notice is we are talking with respect to a quadratic function which is x square plus bx plus c. So if you remember the quadratic equation as a concept we discussed, so we discussed about the discriminant formula, which is b square minus 4ac. And we said that the roots of the quadratic equation goes by the formula minus b plus minus under root d upon 2a. Now, we also discussed this fact, what will be the nature of roots, wherein we discussed if d is greater than 0, then it will have 2 roots. If d is equals to 0, then it will have 1 root. And if d is less than 0, it will have no roots. Now, with respect to the graph, what does that mean? When I say a quadratic function will have 2 roots, it implies it will have 2 values of x, which implies the graph will touch x-axis at 2 different points. Similarly, when I say d is equals to 0, it implies d is 0, implies it will have 1 root. It will have 1 root implies the fact that it will touch x-axis at a single point. And when I say the graph has no roots, it implies that the graph will not touch x-axis at all. So it is going to be above x-axis. The point is, when I say d is less than 0, the equation is still a quadratic equation, but it does not have a real roots. That's the whole sole point. So this will be the graph for no roots, this will be the graph for 1 root, and this will be the graph for 2 roots. Roots basically implies the values of x. So if there are 2 values of x, it will touch x-axis at 2 points. If there is 1 value of x, it will touch x-axis at 1 point. And if it has no roots, it will not touch x-axis. So guys, does this concept make sense to everyone? Great, then 30 seconds to note down the idea, and then we'll move to the second variant of the question, which we can encounter in the context of parabolas. Okay guys, moving on. Now, this is another type or the variant of the question which you can encounter with respect to parabolas. So basically, there is a quadratic equation given to us. You can say quadratic function is given to us, that is y is equals to x squared plus 6x plus 8. We are expected to find out the coordinates of the vertex, the x-intercepts, I would say, put a S on it, y-intercept, and the axis of symmetry. So let's try to find out everything one by one. So the very first thing you are expected to do is, you are expected to factorize this equation. So when you will factorize it, it will become y is equals to x squared plus 4x plus 2x plus 8. I will be equals to x common x plus 4 plus 2 common x plus 4. And finally, it will become y is equals to x plus 2x plus 4. So that will be the factorization. Now, if I wish to find out x-intercepts, then in that case, I'll put y as 0. This equation will turn out to be x plus 2 multiplied by x plus 4 is equals to 0. If you equate with 0, product of two terms is equals to 0 implies either x plus 2 will be equals to 0 or x plus 4 will be equals to 0. Either x will be equals to minus 2 or x will be equals to minus 4. And with respect to the with respect to coordinate geometry concern, if x is minus 2, y will be 0. If x is minus 4, y will be 0. So these will be the two coordinates that will satisfy this function, and they will be called as the x-intercepts. If you try to form out this graph, it will simply turn out to be passing through the points minus 2 comma 0 and minus 4 comma 0. So this will be the shape of the parabola. So this will be minus 2 comma 0 and this will be minus 4 comma 0. So these will be the two x-intercepts. So that will be the answer for the second part. As said, y is equals to ax square plus bx plus c. So plus c is the y-intercept of the parabola. So that is directly going to be 8 in this question. So this y-intercept is going to be 0 comma 8. So that will be the answer for the third part. Then comes axis of symmetry. So as discussed, axis of symmetry is a line which divides the parabola into two equal halves. It always passes through the vertex of the parabola. Which means if this coordinate is minus 4 comma 0, this coordinate is minus 2 comma 0. So then this needs to be in between and it has to be minus 3 comma 0. And if this straight line which is parallel to y-axis passes through the point minus 3 comma 0, then the equation of this line needs to be x equals to minus 3. This will become the answer for the fourth part, that is axis of symmetry, which will be x equals to minus 3. If this equation has, or if this line has the equation x equals to minus 3, then the coordinates of the vertex will be definitely some minus 3 comma y. That means the x coordinate will be minus 3 and we need to figure out the y coordinate. We know that the quadratic equation or function goes by y is equals to x squared plus 6x plus 8. So herein, I just need to plug in the value of x as minus 3 and find out the value of y. It will simply be minus 3 whole square plus 6 into minus 3 plus 8. So 3 square is 9, 9 plus 8 is 17. So this will be 17. 6 into 3 is minus 18. So that will make it minus 1. And the coordinates of the vertex will simply become minus 3 comma minus 1. That will be the answer for the coordinates of the vertex. Basically, this is how you are expected to solve out the question on the parabolas, wherein the first thing is to factorize and then solve it out and get the answer in place. So guys, does this make sense to everyone? So then note down the idea and write done after noting it down.
Sir, sir,
Yes, please.
can you explain how we got x is equals to -3?
So this is the axis of symmetry, right? So as discussed, axis of symmetry is a line. It divides the parabola into two equal halves. It always passes through the vertex of the parabola. So now I know that the x-intercepts of this parabola is -4, 0 and -2, 0. And axis of symmetry is going to be midway of that.
Okay, yes.
So the midpoint of the line segment -4, 0 and -2, 0 will be -3, 0. So this line is parallel to y-axis and is passing through the point -3, 0. So x coordinate of this line will always be -3. That's how we said it will be x equals to -3.
Okay, so thank you.
Welcome. So guys, done. Shall we move on? Okay, great. So moving on to the last idea with respect to coordinate geometry and functions, that is the aspect about a circle. So let me put out a circle for you guys, explain it better. So I'm going to explain it my way. So let's say the center of the circle is at the point h comma k, and the point I am taking on the circumference of the circle is x comma y. The equation of the circle will go by the formula x minus h whole square plus y minus k whole square is equals to r square. Now, if you notice, h comma k is the center of the circle and x comma y is the point on the circumference of the circle, and the distance between these 2 points will become the radius of the circle, because any line segment joining any point on the circumference with the center of the circle is called the radius. If you'll notice, this is not anything new as a formula. It is the same as the distance formula which I have written. Wherein I am just mentioning this fact that h comma k will represent the center of the circle and r will become or represents the radius of the circle. So this is something you need to be mindful about. Secondly, and most importantly, what you need to remember is the center of the circle comes at origin, that is 0, 0. In that case, this equation of the circle will become x minus 0 whole square plus y minus 0 whole square is equals to r square, which eventually turns out to be x square plus y square is equals to r square. Now simply remember, if the equation of the circle is given to us as x square plus y square is equals to r square, then in that case, I'm so sorry, am I audible to everyone? Yeah. So I'm saying, if the question is given to us as that the equation of the circle is x square plus y square is equals to r square, then in that case I'll by default take the center at 0 comma 0. So it's not going to be an assumption, it's going to be a true fact, because it is already mentioned that the equation of the circle goes by x square plus y square is equals to r square. Secondly, and most importantly, what you need to further remember is that this equation, which is x square plus y square is equals to r square, will have the center at 0 comma 0, and it will represent all the points that will lie on the circumference, or I would say in simple terms, lie on the circle. Similarly, if I say the expression goes by x square plus y square is less than r square, it will represent all the points inside the circle. And if the equation goes by x square plus y square is greater than r square, it will represent all the points all outside the circle. So it's all about analysis, which you need to understand and remember. So x square plus y square equals to r square will represent the point on the circle. Greater than r square will represent outside the circle. Less than r square will represent inside the circle. Are we all clear on this?
Thank you.
Yes, no, maybe. Thank you. Note down the idea and then we'll attempt a question based on it.
Oh my god. Money कस्तो खेलिसक्यो निक्लाउनु त त्यसले आरामसँग म्याच खेल्न भनेर मसँग प्लिज यो ल्याइदेऊ होइन यो तिम्रो म्यामले ल्याइदियो भने मलाई पोखरा जाँदाखेरि एकदम चिल हुन्छ म्यामलाई यो सुन त यो ल्याइदिन भन
Hey guys, moving on. This question, please.
त्यही नेपाली 4 नेपाली 5,000 बोयफ्रेन्डलाई चाहिँ होइन कि तिमीलाई चाहियो भने मेरो ल्यापटपको चार्जर बिग्रेको छ त्यसरी कुरा के भन्छन् म्यामले
How come A is not the correct answer? If you notice, it says in the rectangular coordinate xy plane, P 0 comma 4 is the center of the circle. So the center of the circle is at the point 0 comma 4. So h comma k will be 0 comma 4. And y is equals to 2 is tangent to the circle. So if this point is 0 comma 4 and this line is tangent to the circle, so this coordinate needs to be 0 comma 2. If this is 0 comma 2, this is 0 comma 4, so therefore radius of the circle will turn out to be 2 units. Now you just need to plug in the value. So it will be x minus 0 whole square plus y minus 4 whole square is equals to 2 square. This will become x square plus y minus 4 whole square is equals to 4. That will become the answer to the question, which will be yes, option C. So are we all clear on this? Great, then 15 seconds to note down the idea and then we'll move on. Okay guys, moving on. Now the last idea for this chapter, which is basically kind of a comparison as well as learning. So as discussed, if the function goes by y is equals to x square, it will be a parabola, which is basically a U-shaped curve having its minimum point at 0, 0. The contrary, if the function goes by y is equals to modulus of x. So herein, the function will be a V-shaped curve. This will also have the minimum point at 0, 0 only. The idea is this much simple. This was square. That's why it formed out a parabola like this. And this is raised to the power 1. If nothing is mentioned about the power, power by default is 1. And because of the modulus sign, the value of y will turn out to be something positive, or the least value can be 0 if you put on 0 also. So because it is the power 1, so it needs to be a linear function. And if it is going to be a linear function, then in that case, obviously it has to be a straight line graph. So if it has to be a straight line graph, it needs to be y is equals to modulus of x will be shaped as V-shaped curve like this. So the bottom line is the graph for modulus functions will be V-shaped curve. And the things which we have discussed for this function will remain same for every damn function in this world. That means if it is about y is equals to modulus of x plus 2 is the function. So therefore this function, which is the above one, will move 2 units up and the graph of this function will become this way, wherein the minimum point now will be 0, 2. So even if randomly I place out a function like this, in fact, I shall be making out, let's say a random function is given to us as like this, y is equals to fx is given to us like this. And we are asked, find what will be y is equals to f of x minus n. So automatically it implies that this function needs to move 10 units down. So the graph of that function will be somewhat like this. So the point is this much simple, which you need to understand, that this graph needs to move down by some units or some points. So that means the curve will eventually shift downwards and will look like somewhat this way. So this is something you need to be mindful about. irrespective of what the shape of the function is, if the constant is being added to the function, the graph will move up. If constant is subtracted, graph will go down. If constant is added inside, the graph shifts leftward. If the constant is subtracted, the graph shifts rightward along x-axis. For the same function, if I would say find the graph of y is equals to fx plus 2, so this will further move down 2 units on the left and the graph will look like somewhat this way. So earlier it was very near to y-axis. Now you have placed somewhat more far or 2 units more far from the y-axis. Does these points make sense to everyone? Awesome then. Take a minute, note down the idea and see if you want to ask anything with respect to coordinate geometry. If not, then we'll move on. Just a quick confirmation, we have already discussed in detail the concept of coordinate geometry, right? Great, thank you. See if you want to ask anything, ask, otherwise we'll move to the next chapter.
Sir, can you again explain about the y equals to fx part? My internet glitched at that point. I didn't understand it.
So I'm saying, I simply explained that irrespective of what the function is given to us, the things which we have discussed for y is equals to x square plus 2, x square minus 2, the same will be applicable for all the functions, all the questions. Likewise, if you see y is equals to modulus of x, if that is the function, so mod x plus 2 will be moving units up. Similarly, if let's say there is some graph randomly given to us, y is equals to fx like this, tick mark kind of concern. So if now I am expected to figure out what will be the graph of y is equals to fx minus 10, then in that case, this graph should move 10 units down. And if this graph will move 10 units down, the shape of that graph will become this one. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Similarly, I said if there is a change inside the function, so instead of y is equals to fx, if it becomes y is equals to fx plus 2, so a constant has been added inside the bracket. So if the constant has been added inside the bracket, therefore the graph needs to move 2 units more far from y-axis, 2 units towards the left. So if you notice, this was very near to y-axis. This tick mark was very near to y-axis and I have further moved 2 units on the left. So now you can see there is a lot of distance from the y-axis. So this will become the shape of this graph.
In y equals to fx, the earlier part, why is it the graph not on the vertex, not on the y-intercept?
Which one?
Yeah, that the one that you had the cursor on earlier. Not
this
that.
one?
No. On your left.
This one?
Yes.
So I said this is the original question. So this is given in the question that y is equals to fx looks like this.
It was irrespective of the vertex then.
Yeah.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
So can you again repeat what does y is equals to ax in y is equals to ax square plus bx plus c? What does b represents?
B represents the deepness of u. So
like
it will
how
be this
wide
much.
the curve is.
Sorry?
Like how wide the curve is.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry.
Srijan, are you saying something because I am unable to hear? So sorry, your voice is inaudible. I could sense you are speaking something, but I cannot hear. No, sorry. Switch off the mic and then switch on the mic again. Very low.
Now it is audible or not, sir?
I can hear you, but not that clear. But ask me your question.
Sir, you have said that y is equal to fx plus 2. If there is plus 2, means it will move, the function will move towards the left side, yes, sir? And if there is minus, then that will go to the right side, sir? Means if,
Yes, yes.
If
Yes.
y is equal to fx minus 2, then that will move to our right hand side.
Right hand side. Right.
Just give example, sir, like that.
So if fx is given to us as let's say this graph,
Yeah.
so y is equals to fx minus 2 will be somewhat this way. It will move 2 units to the right.
Modulus is 2. Modulus that will make the positive. Therefore, if y we put in the balance in the value of yes, we put 0, then it will be minus 2. Yes, sir.
Again, the modulus what?
Means this is for the modulus what you have said before.
This one.
Yeah. Means that will be 2. If we put their value of yes is equal to 0, then also yes minus 2 it will be yes.
Is that what you are saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you put x as
0.
okay, then
That will be minus 2 means 2, it will go on the right side. That if plus 2, then it will be minus. Then the value is plus.
so y will be equals to, if you put in 0 minus 2, y will turn out to be modulus of minus 2, which will be 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
If positive also same as 0 plus 2 will be 2. What if what it should be it also should go on the right side or not? So this 2 means y is equal to upward. That is the only difference. Yeah? 0 2.
I didn't understand your question. What exactly you are trying to say?
Sir, means if we put there x plus 2, so that will be also the 0 plus 2 will be the y is equal to 2. Yes, sir.
Again, what? I'm unable to understand your question. If what we will do?
Yes, if you put the value of y is equal to x minus y is equal to x minus 2 and y is equal to x plus 2, the value of x and y will be the same. Yes, sir.
Okay.
The figure also seems to be same. No, sir. Value 0 2 means if it will be a different or not, sir. 0 and 2 means 2 plus 2 will be 4. But value of x will move on the positive value means it should not be moved towards the right hand side, sir. According to the law. You said if the value will go increasing plus, it will go on the left side. If the values of the x go to more positive, then the values should go on the right hand side or not? Sorry, am I correct or wrong?
Just a second. Let me analyze. So you want to say if y is equals to modulus of x minus 2 is the function, if you put 0 as the value of x, the value of y will turn out to be 2. The coordinate will be 0, 2.
Yes.
Instead of moving on to the left hand side, it is moving up. That's what you are saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you remember, I said that when it is about y is equals to x square, if you add a constant in that function, that should move 2 units up.
Yeah. Yeah. That also I got, sir.
So that was for the parabola.
Yeah.
Not for the modulus function. Modulus function, that is why we discussed at the end. Modulus function happens to be different because it's a straight line function. Na? What do you say? It behaves in a different manner than this.
But if x plus 2 will be the value of if x equal to 0, y will be the 4, yes, sir. If modulus x plus 2 will be 0, 4 will be the value, yes, sir.
X plus 2 you are saying?
Yes, x plus 2 then.
So?
That will be the 0, 4, yes.
0, 4? Why?
Yeah. Means value what we do, right? Just before what we have at 0,
what are you taking the value of x as?
0.
Yeah, if you take x as 0, y will be 2, why will it be 4? It will be still the same 0, 2?
Yeah. But if I put it on 2, if I put then it will be 4. Then if I add 2, then it will be 4, yes, sir. Then
yes. If it will be 2, it will be 4. What's the problem?
No, I got it now.
Okay. Okay guys, moving on to the next chapter then. The next chapter we are going to discuss is about statistics. This is also one of the most important element from the exam perspective. This is also important with respect to two-folded reasons. One is that amongst the first 8 questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is going to be quantitative comparison questions. In that case, one question will be certainly about statistics, and most likely one of the question will be in the data interpretation set. So somewhat it will be associated with the statistics as the concern under the context of data interpretation. The concept of statistics, I would say these are the 5 major things which we will be discussing: mean, median, mode, range, and standard deviation. After this, we will also be talking about combined mean, or you can say the weighted mean. We'll be also talking about quartiles. We'll be also talking about percentiles. We'll be also talking about box plot. And we'll be also talking about normal distribution curve. So these are going to be the major points which we will be discussing in this chapter. Mean, median, mode, range, and standard deviation. Then combined mean or the weighted mean. then quartiles, percentiles, box plot, and the normal distribution curve. These are going to be the major things, or not the major, I would say. These are going to be the things which we will be discussing in detail with respect to these ideas. Now let's begin with the things one by one. First of all, we are going to talk about mean. Mean, which is also called as average, which is also written as x bar. It is all about sum of all the terms in the series or sum of all the observation in the series divided by the number of observation. This can also be written as sum of x divided by n. That gives you the mean of the series. Sum of all the terms in the series divided by number of terms gives you the mean. If let's say the series goes by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then in that case, the mean of the series will be simply 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 divided by the number of terms, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will be 5, 4, 9, 3, 12, 13, 14, 1, 15. So it will turn out to be 15 over 5. That will give you the mean as 3. Let's say the terms goes by 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. In this case, the mean of the series will come by 11 plus 12 plus 13 plus 14 plus 15 divided by the number of terms, which is 5. Upon solving the concern, it will give you the mean value as 13. Let's say the series goes by 1, 2, 3, 4. Then in that case, the mean value of the series will be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 divided by the number of terms, which is going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 10. So it will become, sorry, there are 4 terms in the series, so this will become 10 over 4, which is going to be 2.5. Similarly, if the terms goes by 11, 12, 13, and 14, then in that case, the mean value of the series will become 11 plus 12 plus 13 plus 14 divided by the number of terms, which is 4, and upon solving, it will give you the value as 12.5. This was the case for the individual series wherein terms are given and you are expected to relate out that ways. Let's say there is given to us as the series f and x. Let's say x is given to us as 1, 2, 3, 4 and frequency associated is given to us as 5 to 7 p. Then in that case, how will you calculate mean? Now, before you calculate mean, I want to tell you what exactly or how exactly we read this information as. So reading out this information is quite important. How do we read this information is simply understand this way. 1 has a frequency of 5, which means 1 will appear 5 times in this series. If I write it in the individual format, 1 will come 5 times. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Then 2 appears 2 times, so 2, 2. Then 3 appears 7 times, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then 4 appears 3 times, so 1, 2, 3. That is how you basically relate the idea. And this is what it means actually. This information, when presented in the generic form, it will mean this way that 1 will appear 5 times, 2 will appear 2 times, 3 will appear 7 times, and 4 will appear 3 times. Now, if you wish to find out the mean of the series, it will be all about sum of all the observation divided by the number of observation. So what you can simply relate out here is that you can simply calculate the mean of the series by calculating summation of fx divided by summation of f. So you need to simply multiply f and x. So 1 into 5, that is 5, 2 into 2, which is 4, 7 3s are 21, 4 3s are 12. Add these 4 numbers, the sum total of that will come in the numerator and the sum total of frequency will come in the denominator. That's how you will calculate the mean of the series. So guys, does this make sense to everyone? Great, then note down this idea and then we'll move on. In fact, guys, time for the break as well. So let's take out a break for about 15 minutes here. Then we'll resume the class. Enjoy your break. See you guys in exactly 15 minutes from now.
मेरो कि एउटा साथी थियो कि बिछा गर्ने साथी त होइन सिनियर हो मेरै ब्याचको हो तर क्लास जम्प गरेर सिनियर भयो कि उसको बाबाले के गरेर छ अब उसको बाबाले उसको मम्मीलाई राति सुतिरहेको बेला घाँटी च्यापेर मारिदिनु कस्तो भनेपछि लाइक आन्टीको त आँखा त्यो रगत जमेर क्या आँखा आम्मा हुन्छ मलाई मगाउन सस्तो पर्छ नि मलाई सबै के आयो त्यसले मेरो तातो के हिटर तातो के अभी के डैमेज है इसको अभी there was for the last round is it जायरा ले रहा ना किल ऐसा किल लिया है कि इक्विपमेंट है इसमें स्पेल है तो जायरा तो और को स्पेल दे इसलिए एसपी जल्दी घट्छ नि मारा त याद राई त्यसको एसपी जति घट्छ त्यसको ड्यामेज त्यति बढ्छ भागा भागा सुन्दैन ड्यामेजलाई त त्यो स्पेल चेन्ज गर्न मिल्छ के तिम्रो के छ भन्दाखेरि तिम्रो हो म्याजिक गर्नु त्यसको अर्कै छ कि सक्दिन सक्दैन नि त्यहाँ पहिल्यै सक्दैन 15% ड्यामेज इन्क्रिज हुन्छ त्यो समाधान तिमी त्योभन्दा अगाडि दिन्थ्यौ कि के हाने यार त्यस्तो That's what I'm doing. That's 9 movies. यहीँसम्म आएर मुखमा आएर बुबो भगेर गयो साथीले तिमीहरू हेरेर बस्छ यही हो मौका यति हो मौका अरू केही आउँदैन तिम्रो सबजनाले पुग्छ त्यो फाइट खेल्न किन गरेर एकजनाले हेर त्यो तिमीहरूको गेमै बिगारिदियो बनाउने बसिरहेको लुकिरहेछ नि लुकिरहेछ लुकेर बसिरहेको के भन्नु सुन्न सकिनु ट्रिपल किल भागा किन हान्नु पर्यो सिधै चुप लाएर भाग्यो भाइ Good job. हाइता कस्तो पछाडि गइदिन्छ यार यो हामी के भन्नु मारे मलाई कसले लोड स्प्रिन्ट गरे भाग तिन मात्र हो नभएर किन आउँछ है एक सेकेंड ले
Okay, guys, is everyone back from the break? Okay. The next idea we are going to talk about is the concept of median. So in this case, we are going to keep things simple or straightforward. That is to find out the median of the series. What exactly is the median? Median is the middlemost term of the series. The value of the middlemost term is called the median. Value of the middlemost term of the series is basically known as median. In this particular case, we will keep two things standard. That is, first of all, we will always arrange the series in ascending order. Basically, the point is that the value of the middlemost term in the ordered sequence is known as median. We need to arrange the series either in the ascending order or the descending order. But the point is, if we do it in descending order, then in that case, what happens is, looking at the figure, I would say, looking at the figures in the context of 10, 8, 6, 4, 2 is quite difficult than looking at the figure 2, 8, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 is quite easier to look at. That's why we always arrange the series in ascending order. And then we always apply the formula for finding out the mean as n plus 1, median as n plus 1 by 2th term. Wait. Yeah, n plus 1 by 2th term. Irrespective of anything, everything, you are always expected to formulate the answer as n plus 1 by 2th term, wherein n represents the number of terms in the series. Now, what you need to relate out here is simple as that. If let's say the terms goes by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So automatically the series is given in ascending order. So no need to do anything about it. And then you need to find out n plus 1 by 2th term. So the number of terms in this series is 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it will become 5 plus 1 by 2. That will become 6 by 2. That will become third term of the series. So I just need to find out the value of the third term of the series. So this is the first term. This is the second term. The value of the third term of the series is 3. So the median in this example will become 3. If let's say the terms goes by 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, then in that case, again, there are 5 terms in the series, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll do the same thing. That is 5 plus 1 by 2. That is 6 by 2. That is the third term. So this is going to be first term. This is going to be second term. The third term is 13. So the median in this context will become 13. Similarly, let's say the terms goes by 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now in this particular case, there are 4 terms in the series. So I'll apply the formula as 4 plus 1 by 2, which will turn out to be 5 by 2, which will turn out to be 2.5th term. Now in this regard, you cannot directly say what will be the value of the 2.5th term. So what you are going to do is you are going to pick up this number. So that is 2. You're going to pick up this number. So that is 2. So you'll be writing second term plus the term next to it, which will be the third term, divided by 2. So basically median will be the average of the 2 middle terms. So second term plus third term divided by 2 will give you the median. So out here the second term of the series is 2 plus the third term of the series is 3. So 2 plus 3 divided by 2 will give you 5 by 2, which will give you 2.5 as the median of the series. Similarly, had it been the terms as 11, 12, 13 and 14, would have done the same thing, that is 4 plus 1 by 2, because here also 1, 2, 3, 4 terms are there. So it will become 4 plus 1 by 2, which will become 5 by 2, which will become 2.5th term. So I'll do the same thing, second term plus third term divided by 2. Out in this regard, second term was 12, as the third term to it is 13 divided by 2. So 12 plus 13 divided by 2 makes it 25 by 2, which makes it 12.5 as the median of the series. So this is how you are expected to calculate the median value. So it is the value of the middlemost term in the series. We all clear on this? Great, then note down the idea and then we'll move on.
In this video, we're going to look at the other side of the argument that we need to settle, which is Messi or Ronaldo. Just start the Ronaldo reaction. So we're going to give Messi his time now. This is probably made by Messi. We're going to get into this, see what all fuss is about. All right, let's get into it.
Okay guys, moving on. Now try out this question and post your answers in the chat box. You need to find out the mean and the median of the series 1, 3, 5 and so forth till 9999. You might be surprised to listen to the fact that this question can be answered in just 2 to 3 seconds. Right? Okay. I was saying that you might be surprised to hear to the fact that this question can be answered in just 2 to 3 seconds, and this question also does not require the use of pen and paper. The point is, if you look forward for the storyline, what we have discussed just now, we said if the series goes by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in that case, mean turned out to be 3 and the median also turned out to be 3. Similarly, when it was the case about 1, 2, 3, 4, mean turned out to be 2.5 and median also turned out to be 2.5. Now, if you notice what is happening out here, mean and median are turning out to be equal. And if you look at the series is turning out to be an AP, arithmetic progression. So we can downgrade or downline, or we can simply understand the idea this way, that if the series is an AP, the series is an AP, then in that case, the value of the mean will be equals to the value of the median. And now, if we analyze what is mean, mean is all about sum of all the terms divided by the number of terms. Because the series is an AP, the sum of terms will go by the formula number of terms divided by 2 multiplied by first term plus the last term. And this whole will also get divided by the number of terms. So this n will come in the denominator. Herein, this n and n gets cancelled out, and you will be left over with first term plus last term divided by 2. And that will become the value of the mean and the median. Out here in this regard, the series goes by 1, 3, 5 and so forth till 9999. So clearly it's an AP with a common difference of 2. So the value of the mean will be equals to the value of the median in this question, and both of them will be equals to first term plus last term divided by 2. So that brings out 10,000 divided by 2. That brings out 5,000 as the mean, 5,000 as the median, and that will be simply the answer to the question. So you don't need to calculate any stuff. You don't need to get into calculations as such. Just need to analyze the context in this manner, that if the series turns out to be an AP, value of the mean will be equals to the value of the median, and both of them will be equals to first term plus last term divided by 2. So guys, does that make sense to everyone? Great, then make a note of it and then we'll move on.
And then add to that pace, feet that are so like a dancing feet, and he hits the ball with left and right feet, and also the confidence. It's a phenomenal athlete. I keep saying it. And for me, you know, one of the best.
Okay, guys, moving on. Now try out this question, please. Do you guys still have any doubt on the concept? What's the answer to this question? Exactly, C. What are you thinking on? You'd simply say set X contains 10 consecutive multiples of 7. So consecutive multiples of 7 relates to the idea the series will be an AP. If the series is an AP, the value of the mean will be equal to the value of the median. So both of them are equal. So the answer to the question will become C. You don't need to get into the calculations as such for this question, that what exactly will be the values of the 10 consecutive multiples of 7. You just need to analyze and understand the idea. If it is talking about consecutive multiples of 7, he is talking about an AP. If the series is an AP, the value of the mean will be equal to the value of the median. Simple, straightforward. Okay, so moving on. Now try out this question, please. Okay, let's begin with. It says that given a list of terms as 5, 15, 40, 55, and X. It says the median of the given 5 numbers is 15. If the median of these 5 numbers is 15, so if there are 5 terms in the series and the median is 15, it implies 2 of the terms need to ahead of 15, and 2 will be below 15. Case there are 5 terms in the series and 15 is the median, so 15 needs to be the middlemost term of the series, and 15 is the middlemost term of the series. That means it needs to be the third term of the series. That means fourth and the fifth term will be ahead of 15, and first and the second term will be before 15. Now, clearly, if you look at the given figures 5, 15, 40, 55, and X, 40 and 55 are the numbers greater than 15, so should fall on the right hand side of 15. Now we will be left over with two terms, 5 and x. So certainly 5 will turn on the left hand side of 15, so as x will turn in this range. So we got to know this fact that x will be some value which is going to be lesser than or equals to 15. Because if x turns out to be less than or equals to 15, then in that case the median will remain intact as 15. Now the question is asking what will be the value of x so that the mean of these numbers is maximum. Now we need to figure out the value of x such that the mean of these terms is maximum. So mean is all about sum divided by number. And if we are talking about sum of the numbers, it doesn't matter in which order we are adding. So we'll write it as 5 plus 15 plus 40 plus 55 plus x divided by 5. Now I want mean to be maximum. If I want mean to be maximum, I want to make this fraction maximum. Now, if I want to make this fraction maximum, clearly these values are going to be constants, and the only variable present in this question is x. That means if x gets maximized, this fraction will automatically get maximized. And based on the given set of information, the maximum value of x will be equals to 15. Out in this scenario, the value of x will turn out to be 15. You guys said 14. 14 would have been the answer when he would have said that all 5 terms are different. If all the terms are different, then I could say 14 will be the answer, but it has not mentioned that all the terms are different. So automatically C will become the answer to the question, because the maximum possible value of x in this scenario will be equals to 15. So that's going to be option C as the correct answer. So guys, are we all clear on this question? Great then. 15 seconds to note down the idea and then we'll move on. Okay guys, moving on. Now the next idea or the concept is about mode. Simply remember what is mode. Mode is the frequently occurring term in the series. That means the term which appears the maximum number of times in the series is called as mode. Most frequent number in the set is basically known as mode. So for an example, if the series goes by 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 is appearing the maximum number of times in the series, so the mode of the series will become 2. Similarly, if the series goes by 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, and 5, still 2 is appearing the maximum number of times in the series, so 2 will become the mode. Let's say the series goes by 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, and 5. So 2 is appearing 2 times, so as 3 is appearing 2 times, and that is the maximum number of times they are appearing. We don't have this much time to calculate the exact value of the mode in the series. So we will simply say the mode of the series will become 2 and 3. So 2 and 3 both will become the mode of the series. So the bottom line out here which we need to understand is that a series can hold more than one mode. I repeat, a series can hold more than one mode. Note down this idea and then we'll move on. Okay guys, moving on. The next idea is about range. Remember that do not follow these examples. Answers might be wrong. So I'll be writing my own examples out here. But first of all, the meaning. When it comes to range of the series, simply remember the difference between the largest term of the series and the smallest term of the series, or you can say the difference between the highest term of the series and the lowest term of the series is called range. So the largest value of the series minus the smallest value of the series is called as range. Do make sure and remember this fact. I'm not talking about last value minus first value. I'm talking about largest value minus smallest value. So just be conscious about this fact. It has nothing to do with last minus first. It has always to do with the respect to largest value of the series minus smallest value of the series. So simply remember range will always be largest minus smallest. Now let's say the series goes by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this regard, the range of the series will be simply largest value minus smallest value. 5 minus 1 will make it 4 as the range. Similarly, let's say the series goes by 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the range value of the series will be 5 minus 0, which will turn out to be 5. Let's say the series goes by minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this regard, the range of the series will be the largest value minus the smallest value. So that makes out 5 plus 1, which is going to be 6 as the range. Similarly, let's say the series goes by minus 2, minus 4, minus 6, minus 8, and minus 10. In this regard, the range of the series will be largest value, which is minus 2, minus the smallest value of the series. So that makes it minus 2 plus 10. That makes it 8 as the range of the series. And if let's say the terms are 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, in this case, the range of the series will become 5 minus 5, which is 0. Let us understand why we have taken the example in this way only. If you notice the very first example, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the terms are positive. The range was positive number. Second set is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even after including 0 as the term in the series, range was still positive. The third example had a negative number, 0 as well as positive number. Range was still positive. In the next example, all the terms were negative. Range was still positive. In the last example, all the terms were same. Range was 0. What we can conclude out here is that the range of the terms is always going to be greater than or equals to 0. Range can never go negative. Range is all about difference between the largest and the smallest term of the series, and the difference between largest and the smallest can never go negative. So range is something which represents dispersion. Dispersion means deviation. Deviation is always positive. That is why we always consider it to be the positive context. And range of the numbers will always be greater than or equals to 0. It can never go negative. And if by default you can simply remember this fact, the range of the terms turns out to be 0. In that case, we can simply say that all the terms are going to be equal to each other, or all the terms are going to be same. So guys, are we all clear on the concept of range? Note down this idea, then we'll move on. Okay, guys, moving on. The next idea is about standard deviation. So I would say the standard deviation and range are the two concepts which goes hand in hand because they both are the measures of dispersion and relates to the idea of the deviation. What does standard deviation represents? First of all, you need to understand that the standard deviation as a concept represents the deviation of the terms from the mean value. Basically, the standard deviation of the terms signifies how much the terms are deviated, scattered, or dispersed from the mean value. Simple terms, in layman's language, I would say how much the terms are apart from the mean value, how much the terms are falling down from the mean value. So how much they are far from the mean value. So that's what standard deviation signifies. Now, what we can conclude about the concept is more scattered the data is, more will be standard deviation. That means if the terms fall very far off from the mean value, standard deviation will be greater. And if the terms fall very near to the mean value, the standard deviation will be very lesser. So standard deviation is totally dependent on how much the terms are falling apart from the mean value. Greater the deviation is, more will be standard deviation. Lesser the deviation is, less will be standard deviation. Moreover, have the minimum standard deviation, observation should be very close to mean, because if the observation will be closer to mean, the deviations would be lesser. If the deviations are lesser, standard deviation will be automatically lesser. As like range, we concluded the fact that range of the terms is going to be greater than or equals to 0. So is the case with the standard deviation. The standard deviation of the terms is also greater than or equals to 0. Standard deviation also can never go negative. In another 5 minutes, when we'll be talking about these steps to figure out the value of the standard deviation, you'll be more clear and comfortable about the idea what I'm talking about. But right now, we just need to understand this fact that standard deviation signifies how much the terms are away from the mean value. Greater the deviation is, more will be standard deviation, and lesser the deviation is, less will be standard deviation. And finally, have the minimum standard deviation, we need to have the observation closer to the mean. So if the terms are very close to the mean, automatically the deviations would be lesser, automatically the standard deviation will be lesser. And finally, standard deviation of the terms as like range is always going to be greater than or equals to 0. Standard deviation can never go negative. I would suggest you to note down this idea, and then we will talk about how to solve the question with respect to standard deviation. Okay guys, moving on. Now, let me tell you how exactly you are expected to answer the question with respect to the standard deviation as a concept. Now, there are two ways to deal with the question. One is analyze and answer, and second is calculate the actual value of the standard deviation and then answer. Most likely, analyzing the question would be more than actually calculating the standard deviation, but you should have both the ideas in place. Now, let's say there is a series with the terms as 1, 2, and 3, and there is another series with the terms as 16, 17, and 18. So, if you notice, the number of terms in both the series is same. We can easily analyze. So here, we'll first of all figure out the approximate or exact value of the mean. So the approximate or the exact value of the mean will be 2. And then we'll simply calculate the deviation. So 2 minus 1 is 1, 3 minus 2 is 1. Similarly, the approximate or the exact value of the mean will be 17. And we'll calculate the deviation. So 17 minus 16 will be 1, 18 minus 17 will be 1. So this series have the deviations as 1 and 1. This series also have the deviation as 1 and 1. All the deviations are equal. So the standard deviation of the two series will be equal to each other. What will be the value of the standard deviation? I'm least concerned about it and I do not know. But whatever it will be definitely equal to each other. Again, let's take another example. Let's say the series goes by 1, 2, and 3, and another series goes by 115, 116, 117. So here, the mean value of the series will be 2. The deviation will be 2 minus 1, 3 minus 2, which is 1. The mean value will be 116. The deviation will be 1 and 1. Because again, the deviations are equal, so the standard deviation of the two series will be equal to each other. Similarly, let's say the series goes by 1, 2, and 3, and the series goes by minus 2, minus 4, and minus 6. Here, the mean value of the series is 2, and the deviation will be 1 and 1. Here, the mean value of the series is minus 4, and the deviation will be 2 and 2. Clearly, the deviations out here are 2 and 2, and the deviations out here are 1 and 1. So obviously, 2 and 2 are the numbers greater than 1 and 1. So the standard deviation for this series will be greater. So basically, if the deviations are equal, standard deviation will be equal. If the deviations are greater, or wheresoever the deviations are greater, the standard deviation will be greater for that series. Now, again, let us analyze and understand why we have taken these examples like this only. If you notice the first example, it is a very simple, straightforward. If the deviations are equal, standard deviations are equal. It was a normal example. The second example was to relate the fact that 1, 2, 3 are very small terms in comparison to 115, 116, 117. Still, the standard deviation of the two series turned out to be equal. That means standard deviation of the terms does not depend on the magnitude of the numbers. If the magnitudes are greater, standard deviation will be greater or smaller. It has nothing to do with that. Standard deviation is totally dependent on how much the terms are deviated from the mean value. Wheresoever the deviation will be greater, theresoever the standard deviation will be greater. But if the deviations are equal, like in this example, 1, 1, 1, and 1. So if the deviations are equal, standard deviation will be equal to each other. Similarly, if the series would have been 1, 2, 3, and minus 2, minus 4, minus 6, then in that case, clearly, the standard deviation is also not dependent on terms being positive or negative. It is totally dependent on how much the terms are deviated from the mean value. Wherever the deviations will be greater, clearly you can see greater deviations out in the example on the right hand side. So the standard deviation will be definitely greater out there. The bottom line, standard deviation is totally dependent on how much the terms are deviated or scattered from the mean value. Wherever the deviations will be greater, the standard deviation will be greater out there. It has nothing to do with the magnitude of the numbers. It has nothing to do with the signs of the numbers. We all clear on this? We've done this idea and then we'll move on. Okay, guys, moving on. Now, let's say we have to find out the value of the standard deviation. So what shall we do in that regard? Let's say we are given with the question to compare the standard deviation of the series 1, 2, 3 and the standard deviation of the series 116, 117, 118, 119, 120. So if the number of terms are not same, then we are expected to compare the standard deviation, then what shall we do? In this scenario, we need to calculate the exact value of the standard deviation and then answer the question. So to find out or to calculate the value of the standard deviation, we follow 5 simple steps in that regard. So the 5 simple steps will go by this way. First of all, you will calculate the mean value of the series. Then you will calculate the difference of the terms from the mean value. Then you will square the differences. Then you will take the average of the squares, which you have calculated in step number 3. And step number 5 will be standard deviation is equals to square root of the average, which you have taken in the step number 4. I repeat my words. You need to first of all find the average of the series, find the mean value of the series, find the differences of the terms from the mean value. Step number 3 is square the differences. Step number 4 is take the average of these squares. Step number 5 is standard deviation is equals to square root of this average, which you have calculated in the step number 4. Now, if you notice what exactly is happening out here, in the step number 3, you are squaring the numbers, and in step number 5, you are square rooting the answer. So clearly, if you are squaring the numbers and then square rooting it, definitely the existence of negative sign will go for a toss, and there will be no longer any negative sign which will be present in the expression, and henceforth the answer to the value of the standard deviation will always turn out to be greater than or equals to 0. So this confirms the fact, the step number 3, which is squaring, and step number 5, which is square rooting, confirms the fact that the standard deviation is always going to be greater than or equals to 0. Now, for the better idea, let us take few examples to understand the same. Let's say first of the example goes by 0 and 10. So first step is to find out the mean value of the series. That will be 0 plus 10 divided by 2. That gives you the mean value as 5. Step number 2 is find the deviations of the terms from the mean value. It will be 0 minus 5, which is minus 5, and minus 5, which is 5. Step number 3 is square the differences. So that will become 25 and 25. Step number 4 is take the average of these squares. So that will be 25 plus 25 divided by 2. That turns out to be 50 by 2. Step number 5 is standard deviation is equals to square root of this average. So it will be square root of 50 by 2. And that will become the standard deviation out here. Similarly, let's take another example. Let's say 0, 5 and 10. Step number 1 is to find out the mean value of the series. So that will be 0 plus 5 plus 10 divided by 3. That will be 15 by 3. Gives you the mean value as 5. Step number 2 is find the differences of the terms from the mean value. So that will be 0 minus 5, which is minus 5, 5 minus 5, which is 0, 10 minus 5, which is 5. Step number 3 is square the differences. So that will become 25, 0 and 25. Step number 4 is take the average. So it will be 25 plus 0 plus 25 divided by 3, which will turn out to be 50 by 3. Step number 5 will be standard deviation is equals to square root of this average, which is 50 by 3. Let's say now the series goes by 0, 5, 5 and 10. Step number 1 is to find out the average of the series. So that will be 0 plus 5 plus 5 plus 10 divided by 4. That turns out to be 20 by 4. Gives you the mean value as 5 itself. Step number 2 is find the differences of the terms from the mean value. 0 minus 5 will be minus 5. 5 minus 5 is 0. 5 minus 5 is 0. 10 minus 5 is 5. Step number 3 is square the differences. So that will be 25, 0, 0 and 25. Step number 4 is take the average of these squares. So it will be 25 plus 0 plus 0 plus 25 divided by 4. That brings out 50 by 4. And step number 5 is standard deviation is equals to square root of this average. So it will be square root of 50 by 4. On solving also, if you calculate till the end, the values till the end, this will turn out to be exactly 5. This will turn out to be 4 decimal something, and this will turn out to be 3 decimal something. Sorry, just a second. So guys, are we clear about the 5 steps to calculate the value of the standard deviation? Great. Note down this idea. Take a minute. Note down this idea. Analyze the 3 examples, and then I'll ask you certain questions based on these examples. Okay, guys, let's begin with. Now, my first question to you all is, please make sure that you open your mic and speak to answer the question. Try not to use chat box. Open your mic and speak. My first question to you is, you can see 3 questions out here, 0, 10, 0, 5, 10, 0, 5, 5, 10. What similarity or the differences do you see in the 3 examples? Means 3 questions, 3 series, 0, 10, 0, 5, 10, 0, 5, 5, 10. What similarity or the differences do you see in the 3? Variables? Which variables? And what number of variables you are talking about? Okay. So the number of terms are what exactly? That's why I said no, open your mic and speak so that I can cross question. The number of numbers, what exactly you want to say? Are they same? Are they different? What exactly?
I mean, there is in question number first, there is only 2 number.
Okay.
And in second there is 3, sir, and third there is 4.
Okay. So,
and the when the standard deviation in the variation will change as the number increases. I found something like that, sir.
Okay. I'm asking you the similarity or the differences in the 3 series. That means the similarity or the differences in these numbers only. I'm not talking about the 5 steps or the final value of the standard deviation. I'm just talking about these numbers. Okay, let me directly tell you then. Don't want to speak. There are 32 students in the class. Nobody knows what is the relationship between the three. It's hard to digest, by the way. Sagar, you want to say something?
Sir, I think if the first largest and smallest number is same, then the more we add numbers between those extreme values, the standard deviation goes decreasing.
Okay, perfect. So as Sagar has mentioned, the largest and the smallest term is same. If for a series or if for different set of numbers, if the largest and the smallest term is same, what exactly is same for the three series? Obviously range. If the range of the series is same, obviously first and the last means largest and the smallest term is same. So 10 minus 0 will be the range, 10 minus 0 will be the range, 10 minus 0 will be the range. So if we keep the range same, then standard deviation of the terms will keep on decreasing. Perfectly fine. That's perfectly okay. In the first step, if you analyze the 5 steps, in the first step, the mean value turns out to be 5. Here also mean value turns out to be 5. Here also the mean value turns out to be 5. Why is it so that the three series have the same mean? Simply remember that the three series have the same mean because we are introducing the mean value of the series in the series itself, and by introducing the mean value of the series in the series itself again and again and again, it will always keep the mean value same. Even if the series goes by 0, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 10, still if you calculate the mean value of this series also will turn out to be 5. So no matter how many 5s you keep on increasing in the series, it will always fetch you the same mean. So mean actually acts like kind of a weighing balance. If I talk in Hindi, which I know basically, it is kind of a tarazu. And this you must have seen with the vegetable or the fruit seller. So they kind of use this kind of machinery wherein they sold the articles like this. They put on some bars or weights on the left hand side, they put on your fruits and vegetables on the right hand side, and they weigh. And the moment this turns out to be in between and middle, then they say that the two aspects are going to be equal to each other. They sell the fruits and the vegetables like this. So is the case of the mean. So if you put more weights on the left hand side, the mean will start moving towards the left hand side. If you put more weights on the right hand side, the mean will start moving on the right hand side. And if you put the weight on the middle position, the mean will remain intact and it will not change. And this is what is happening out here. So for the first series, the mean turned out to be 5. If you include the mean value of the series in the series itself, there's no change in the weight because you are putting on the weight on the mean itself. So if you are putting on the weight on the middle position, that is on the mean itself. So the weights will remain intact. And if the weights remain intact, the mean value does not change. It remains as it is. In next 5 minutes, again, we are going to use this concept or do this concept in detail. But just the point is to relate the idea. If you introduce the mean value of the series in the series itself, it will always fetch you the same mean. But eventually what is happening, by introducing the mean value of the series in the series itself, it is creating zero difference. The deviations are turning out to be 0. And if the deviation turns out to be 0, automatically the numerator turns out to be the same, 50, 50, and 50. Because you are introducing more terms in the series, so therefore the denominator is increasing. If the denominators are increasing, keeping the numerator constant, the value of the fraction keeps on decreasing. So if you analyze when you will solve, the standard deviation of the series will keep on decreasing as you go on the right hand side. So the bottom line out here is, if you want the standard deviation to be the least, you need to include the mean value of the series in the series itself, because by introducing the mean value of the series in the series itself, it creates 0 as the deviation, and if it creates 0 as the deviation, the numerator will become least and it will fetch you the least standard deviation. Now for an instance, if I would have put in any number apart from 5 in the same range, let's say 4 or 6, then in that case, these deviations would not have been 0 and 0. It would have been 1 and 2 or something like that. If it turns out to be 1, let's say, so in that case, it would have been 25, 1, 1 and 25. And the sum total would have been 52 by 4. It would not have been 50 by 4. Clearly, 52 by 4 is greater than 50 by 4. The standard deviation when we would have calculated would have been greater in that regard. Just a second. In that case, the standard deviation of the series would have been greater in that regard. So we need to be mindful about this fact. If I want the standard deviation to be least and we are introducing a new term in the series, so that new term should be the mean value of the series, because if you introduce the mean value of the series in the series itself, it will always fetch you the least standard deviation. So guys, does that make sense to everyone? Awesome then. Take a minute, digest the idea, whatever I have explained, make a note of it, and then we'll move on. Okay guys, shall we move on? Okay. Going on then. So I was saying, let's say we take an example as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in this regard, the mean value of the series will be 3. Now let's say we introduce a new term in this series. By chance we introduce a new term in this series, then the series, let's say I introduce 3 as a new term in the series. The series in that regard will become 1, 2, 3, 3, 4 and 5. If you calculate, the mean value of the series will still remain 3 only. Because if you notice, 5, 4, 9, 3, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 1, 18. 18 divided by 6 will give you mean as 3 only. That means by introducing the mean value of the series in the series itself, it fetches you the same mean. Similarly, let's say I introduce a term lesser than mean now. So let's say I introduce 2. So 1, 2, 2, 3, 4 and 5. In this regard, the mean value of the series will be 5, 4, 9, 3, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 1, 17. So it will be 17 divided by 6. So it will be decimal something. It is not going to be 3 now. It will be something lesser than 3. Similarly, let's say I introduce a term greater than 3. Let's say I introduce 4. So the set of terms will become 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, and 5. In this regard, the mean value of the series will be 5, 4, 9, 9 plus 4, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 1, 19. So this will be 19 divided by 6. It will be 3 decimal something. And now this will be greater than 3. It won't be equals to 3. What I'm trying to say is, if you introduce the mean value of the series in the series itself, it will fetch you the same mean. If you introduce a term lesser than mean, then mean value will decrease. If you introduce a term more than mean, the mean value will decrease. So the point is, mean is kind of a weighing balance, and it works on that principle. So let's say this rectangular box is the set of terms in this series, and this rectangular box which is standing is the mean. So simple as that, there will be certain weights on the left hand side of the mean, there will be certain weights on the right hand side of the mean. If you introduce a term which is lesser than the mean, the weights on the left hand side will be greater and mean will start moving towards left hand side. Similarly, if you introduce a term on the right hand side of the mean, the weights on the right hand side will be greater now. So the mean value will start moving towards right hand side. If you introduce a term over the mean itself, then the mean value will remain intact because there will be no change in the weights, and mean value will turn out to be the same itself. This is something you need to be mindful about, that mean totally works on the weighing balance. If you introduce a term over the mean itself, the mean will remain intact. If you introduce a term less than mean, mean will start moving towards left hand side. If you introduce a term greater than mean, the mean will start moving towards right hand side. Are you all clear about this concept? You guys, your yes and no is very important for me. Thank you. Really note down this idea and then we'll move on. The next concept is a bit longer. So it will take approximately 10 to 15 minutes. So rather than introducing it this way, let's start or let's catch up with the things the next class. So basically, I would say here the basics of the 5 ideas, mean, median, mode, range, and standard deviation is over. Now we will do the application part of these basics in the next class, and we'll be also learning about quartiles, percentiles, box plot, and so forth, whatever is left over, and the combined mean and the normal distribution curve. So first of all, we are going to relate the application part of the basic concept. We'll be also dealing with certain set of questions, and then we will be relating to the leftover concepts in the context. So we will be catching up next on just a second. It's Thursday. Sorry, today is Monday, right? We'll be catching up on Thursday. Thursday it is 29th of December. Yeah, perfectly fine. We'll catch up on Thursday now. And we'll wrap up this concept of statistics. Perfect then. Have a very good night, guys. Just be safe and take care. See you guys in the next class. Bye bye, everyone.